Believe it or not, your personal information is likely being collected and exploited by the car you drive. It's true. General Motors, the US automaker, was recently sued twice for collecting and selling its customers' driving data, such as hard braking, driving speed, and so much more. In this video, I'd like to show you what types of data your car collects, how this data is being collected, and which car companies are collecting your data. We will also do a deep dive into the two GM lawsuits, and finally, we'll cover ways for you to start protecting yourself from all the information that's being collected around you.
Most people think of their car as a private space, but you might want to think again. It turns out it could actually be spying on you.
Today's cars now have all the technologies embedded in them to spy on you, and that means to collect information on you. The Mozilla Foundation conducted a study where they looked at the privacy policies of 25 global automakers to see how much data they collected on people. They found that aside from the basic details like your name, your age, and your address, your car also collects other information such as phone location, credit card number, social security number, IP address, passport number, health insurance details, genetic data, insurance information, face print, fingerprint, retinal scans, immigration status, seatbelt use, driving style, braking habits, music tastes, swerving instances, route history, and so much more. You can check the table below provided by Mozilla. I'll put the link in the description.
They basically reserve the right to know literally everything about you. Like, there's not any category of data, name it, social security, passport, credit card, financial transactions, apps you use, music you listen to, podcasts you listen to, where you drive, what businesses you frequent.
When you review these companies' terms and agreements, it's easy to get confused by the long and complex legal language. This makes it very hard for a regular person like you and me to understand what kinds of data that's collected by our cars. Let's take a look at GM's privacy statement, for example. You see many uses of all-encompassing language like may include, but are not limited to, which basically means that they can collect more data than what's listed here. Their lawyers write in such comprehensive legal languages to give them the widest legal cover. In addition to the data collected directly from your cars, there's also what's known as inferred data. Inferred data refers to information deduced or assumed based on the collected data. For example, if your car collects data about your driving patterns and destination, it might infer that you have a long commute or frequently visit certain types of stores. This inferred data can be incredibly valuable to advertisers as they use it to target their advertisement more effectively when the data is sold to them. Overall, there are really no clear definitions or limitations on what or how much data your cars can collect. Automakers can and do twist their privacy policies in whatever ways that suits their data gathering needs. Now that you know what kinds of data your cars can collect, or at least what's revealed, let's move on to how the data collection works. Essentially, there are 5 ways your cars can collect data on you. The first way is through your infotainment system. A car's infotainment system is the control center for the car's entertainment and information. When you connect your smartphone to this system, either via Bluetooth or USB, it can collect data like your location, contacts, messages, call history, photos, and even social media connections. In most cases, once the data is in the infotainment system, it cannot be easily deleted.
Once your phone sends data, it's almost always permanently on your infotainment system, but accessing that data varies greatly by manufacturer.
The second way your car can collect data is through apps. Using apps like OnStar from GM, you may give automakers access to your personal information, locations driven, and your driving behavior. Often these apps don't come pre-installed, but when offered, it's important to really consider whether you need them or if there are more secure alternatives. The third way cars collect data is through sensors. Sensors in a car, such as touch sensors, light sensors, can collect complex data like weather conditions, road surface conditions, and even your stress levels. For example, Harman's Ready Care system can track a driver's cognition via sensors monitoring eye gaze and facial expressions. The fourth way cars can collect data is through cameras. Some Toyota cars can scan a driver's face upon entering the vehicle. According to Toyota's Corey Profit, This face recognition system can verify the driver's identity and link it to the user's profile stored in the car itself. Toyota's support page shows that a driver's user profile can be linked through the driver monitor camera, a smart key, or even Bluetooth. While Toyota does this with consent, there is no guarantee that the company won't be hacked someday and your facial data sold on the dark web. The fifth and final way your car collects information is through microphones. According to Jen Kaltrider from Mozilla, cars have built-in microphones that are often placed above the headliner. This microphone may be used to record conversations of everyone in the vehicle. Some brands with microphones in their car models include Tesla, Audi, and BMW. In summary, cars can collect your personal information in 5 ways. 1 is through your infotainment system, 2 is through smartphone apps, 3 is sensors, 4 is cameras, and the 5th one is microphones. As cars continue to develop and become more connected, new methods for data collection will emerge. This also means more sophisticated technologies will collect more detailed information about you, the driver. Now, let's find out which car companies collect and share drivers' data. One company is Tesla. In 2019 and 2022, Tesla employees shared in an interview with Reuters the kinds of data Tesla cameras collect and what some employees did with that video data. One ex-employee shared that Tesla cars captured intimate moments of people's lives, saying, "I saw a lot of stuff that I wouldn't want anybody to see about my life." There were recordings of people's garages. In fact, there was even one recording that showed a man approaching his car naked. And I'm sure that man didn't have no idea his image was being captured. Several employees said that some recordings were shared between co-workers through private group chats. Can you imagine that? One ex-employee told Reuters, "It was a breach of privacy, to be honest." Another said, "I'm bothered. The people who buy these cars have no idea that their privacy is not being respected." Tesla is one of the 25 automakers that Mozilla found to have issues with data privacy. Mozilla's review showed that Tesla collects data ranging from your personal details to the charging station you use. Additionally, Mozilla found that Tesla can share that data with third parties and receive additional driver's data from other sources such as public databases and marketing partners. Tesla's privacy policy says it all. If you look at it, specifically the information we may collect section, you will see that they use broad language to make it unclear what data is actually being collected. Aside from Tesla though, another automaker that collects data is Volkswagen. This is a German company. This company has a bad track record of protecting consumer data. In 2021, it experienced a data breach that affected 3.3 million users. The company violated the Global Data Protection Regulations in 2022, known as GDPR. They even fired the senior employee who reported the cybersecurity issues in 2022 that led to the GDPR violation. Another company is Subaru. It collects and uses drivers' data. In fact, this automaker faced class action lawsuit back in 2021 for collecting the facial geometry of 5 drivers without their permission, and that violated the Illinois Biometric Information Privacy Act. Aside from these 3, here are the other automakers that collect and share driver data. You know them: Nissan, Buick, Chevrolet, Lincoln, Kia, Dodge, General Motors, Hyundai, Honda, Toyota, Chrysler, Fiat, Jeep, Cadillac, Ford, Lexus, Acura, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Renault, and Dacia. If you own or drive a car from any of these 25 brands, then your data is highly at risk. Now let's talk about why these car companies collect and share your data. The first reason is money. Driver's data is very profitable. It's valuable in almost every industry. Market analysis from Emergent Research shows that the global market revenue for car data monetization will increase to $319 billion by 2032. Automakers know this, so that's why they sell this customer data to marketing firms, data brokers, insurance companies, and any businesses that can benefit from it. You'll see examples of this when we get into the GM lawsuits later. The second reason is that automakers need drivers' data to innovate. A great example of this is the development of autonomous cars. Anbar, an engineer from Boston University, said, each company goes through the same process of taking a car, putting sensors in them, paying drivers to drive the vehicles, collect the data, and eventually teach the cars to drive. The problem for most consumers isn't that car companies collect this data to make the cars better, but the fact that they share that data with third parties without the customer consent. Lastly, car companies are required to hand over collected data if subpoenaed by courts or the federal government. For instance, carmaker Lincoln says they can share their driver's data, such as the car's location, in order to comply with laws or in response to any valid legal process. There you have it. The three main reasons why car companies collect and share your data are 1. For money, 2. For product improvement, and 3. To comply with subpoenas. Now let's go into the GM lawsuit so you can see how such data practices can go very wrong for the driver. Back in December 2023, Romeo Chico, the owner of a 2021 Cadillac XT6 from Florida, applied for auto insurance from 7 different companies. They all rejected him. He later discovered that the reason was a data broker, LexisNexis, had a data sharing contract with GM and was selling his driving data to insurance companies. These companies used LexisNexis reports to evaluate his risk profile. Romeo filed a complaint because he was disappointed and confused. According to him, OnStar, Lexus, data sharing, or any of the privacy-related agreements were not mentioned when he bought the car. When he received a notification for OnStar services, he did not click the Get Started button. He started receiving emails from OnStar which also didn't mention anything about data sharing with third parties. His billing statements didn't even include payments for OnStar services. So on March 2024, his online profile on the GM Cadillac Owner Center showed your vehicle is not connected to an OnStar account. Despite all of this, his insurance provider from 2021 to 2023 did not renew his policy because they no longer provided insurance in Florida, which eventually led to other rejections by insurance companies. The reason he couldn't get insured was because of the LexisNexis report. In the report, he saw records of his 258 trips, detailing the distances, the start and end dates, the start and end times, and instances of hard-braking, high-speed acceleration, and his vehicle identification number. Romeo said these were collected without his knowledge or his permission. When he called LexisNexis, they told him to call GM. GM then said his car had an OnStar plan. GM transferred Romeo to OnStar, which then said the only way the insurance company could have accessed his telematics data was if he signed up for a safe driving discount with his insurance provider. Romeo insisted he never agreed to any insurance program that would allow data sharing. This back and forth went on for a while. I'll put the link of this lawsuit docket in the description below so you can check it out yourself. Eventually though, Romeo learned that OnStar had some kind of internal agreement with insurance providers. Apparently, he was enrolled in an OnStar service during an unidentified time and period regardless of his user profile showing no connection or enrollment. Right now, there's no final ruling on Romeo's case. After this lawsuit was filed, the New York Times reported that General Motors has stopped its data sharing practices with data brokers. This is great news for consumers. Another lawsuit was filed by Larry Reed and Darnell McCoy against General Motors, just 1 week after GM had stopped sharing data agreement with data brokers. This lawsuit raises the same issues as the first case, GM collecting and selling its users' data to third parties without the consent of the customer. In this lawsuit, Reed and McCoy stressed that GM's decision to cease its data collection and sharing practices with data brokers implies that they are guilty of sharing customer data without the driver's legal consent. The complaint also states that damages from General Motors and OnStar are worth no more than $5 million. This lawsuit could reach class action status as there are more than 100 putative class members. This case is still in development. When Detroit Free Press asked GM spokesman for comment, he said, "We are currently reviewing the complaint and have no additional comments at this time." These two cases against General Motors are just the beginning. David Vladek, a law professor and the former director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection at the Federal Trade Commission, expects an investigation by the FTC and more lawsuits against automakers and data brokers. In his words, "Just wait for the avalanche. It's coming." Who knows how many other victims like Romeo, Larry, and Darnell are still unaware that their cars are collecting data without consent. A survey from CASI, a consent and preference management platform, showed that 82% of people driving connected cars are not fully aware of the data collected by their vehicles, and 75% are unaware of the full spectrum of data collected and shared. So after all that, the one question I have is this: how exactly is this legal, and why are there no regulations to stop these car companies from collecting user data? Today, there are no national and comprehensive privacy regulations in the United States. However, a few states have passed laws to protect their citizens. For example, California in 2018 passed the California Consumer Privacy Act. This helps protect the data of consumers, including drivers in California. It gives them the right to know what data is collected, the right to delete data collected, and the right to opt out of any data collection and sharing. In New Jersey, Bill A3950 prevents employers from using tracking devices to monitor their employees' movement. And in March of this year, New Hampshire passed Bill 255 into law, which takes effect in January 1st, 2025. This regulation puts limits on those who collect personal data and requires data security measures to ensure consumer confidentiality. In 2018, Europe enacted the General Data Protection Regulation, or the GDPR, which is considered the gold standard for consumer privacy protection all over the world. As I mentioned earlier, the US does not have a national privacy regulation, so each state has its own patchwork of regulations to protect its citizens. To give you an idea, take a look at this map from the International Association of Privacy Professionals. It shows that while some states protect consumers' data, others like Idaho and Nevada don't have any bills or laws to protect people's data. Thankfully though, some lawmakers are trying to do more. For instance, last November, Senator Ed Markey sent letters to 14 automakers. In those letters, Senator Markey included questions to clarify how transparent and lawful these companies are regarding their privacy practices. More recently, Senator Maria Cantwell and Washington Representative Kathy McMorris Rogers introduced the American Rights Act to finally provide national legislation to protect consumer data. Here's what they told CNBC.
Well, we're trying to establish, Andrew, a strong national standard for how you collect, use, and transfer people's most personal, sensitive information.
The only question that remains is, will Washington actually pass such a bill? Time will tell. While we wait for regulators to act, let me share with you one thing you can do today to keep your driving data safe. Try the Vehicle Privacy Report tool from Privacy for Cars. This free tool allows car owners to access privacy facts about their vehicles. All you need to do is enter your vehicle identification number and you receive your privacy report, which looks like this. Let me show you how it's done. First, go to the tool's website at www.vehicleprivacyreport.com. Once there, enter your VIN and click Get Report. Then, go through the authentication process. After a few seconds, you'll receive your privacy report. In this report, you'll see a label that says this car is like a hard drive on wheels, indicating that the car stores personal data. Additionally, you'll be able to see what kinds of data your car collects, which third parties your car manufacturer shared collected data with, which in-car apps and services your car has, the available privacy protections, if any, and some additional tips on what you should do. By using this tool, you can quickly find out what data your car has on you. It will give you a chance to make informed decisions and take the necessary steps to secure your driving data. In this video, we've covered a lot, from what data your car collects to the one simple action you can take today to protect your data. Now, it's your turn. What do you think? Should car companies be more transparent about their data collection practices? Let us know in the comments. Also, consider subscribing and staying tuned for our future releases on where your data is being collected and how you can protect yourself and your family. This has been My Data Removing. We help you protect your most valuable asset, your data. See you on the next video.